Okay, I think I'm almost ready. Uh, welcome. My glasses are broken and I can barely see, but I'm going to try to go through and kind of show you how I approach a rhetorical analysis essay. And when I do this, I model. It's a little bit messy because it's the way my brain works. So hopefully some of this is useful. But this isn't so much a linear process. It's just taking everything I've known and kind of putting it together. So I'll go through, I'll read it, I'll mark it up, I'll kind of talk you through it. So hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. And then if we need to, we'll go kind of slow down and deconstruct it a little bit down the road. Okay, so everyone should have read this by now. Most of you have done some exercises with it. This is a piece from Abigail Adams. As always, the first thing we want to do is read through the prompt. You'll notice I'm actually using pencil and paper. And reading the fact, there's a comment in there that makes it sound like you will be able, if you'd like, to not only like print and annotate the document, but they make it sound like you can write your essay and then upload photographs of it to be checked. And we'll, as always, we'll double check that. I'm trying to get some answers. Just so nothing comes back to bite us. But it looks like that might actually be, a possibility. Now, what I would probably do personally is I would probably want to annotate the essay and take my notes by hand, but I would still type up the actual essay just because I type faster than I write. And the spell check and everything is probably there anyway, which, again, spell check shouldn't count against you unless it's really bad. But I'm pretty comfortable typing on a computer. It's just reading and annotating on a computer that I have problems with. Okay, so first thing we do is we're going to read the prompt. We're going to read it a couple of times because it's really important. So here, this is going to give us all the context we need. If there were other information, often they'll have like little italicized notes before the actual passage, which is essentially what this is. It's just in a slightly different format. Always read everything because a lot of the information you need to understand the rhetorical situation, all of that is going to be found in those notes that they give you. They're trying to help you out when they give you extra stuff. So remember that. In the following letter, Abigail Adams, 1744 to 1818, writes to her son, John Quincy Adams, who is traveling abroad with his father, John Adams, a United States diplomat and later the country's second president. Read the letter carefully. Write an essay that analyzes the rhetorical choices Adams makes to convey her argument about the value of experience. Most of this is pretty standard rhetorical analysis. Analyzes the rhetorical choices Adams makes to convey her argument. Yes, that's pretty typical for rhetorical analysis. We're looking for her choices. But this part about the value of experience, what we want to do is when we go back and actually write our essay, we want to take that language that they used in the prompt and work it into our thesis to really show that we're honed in on what they want us to do. Okay, let's take a look at the date, 1780, American Revolution, 1776. So this is America still pretty new. Her husband is not yet the president. Also, if you know about history and you're reading through, John Quincy Adams is not the same person as John Adams. They are both very famous because both of them were presidents. So we know that the kid that she's writing this letter to will become the president of the United States. That should have an impact on how you approach this. And it should give you some cool things to point out as you're writing an essay responding to this. So here we go. My dear son, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to try my best to read off the computer screen. That way I'll know that you can see what I see. Okay. I hope you have had no occasion, either from enemies or the dangers of the sea, to repent your second voyage to France. So we know that he's been to France before. If I had thought your reluctance arose from proper deliberation, or that you were capable of judging what was most for your own benefit, I should not have urged you to accompany your father and bother when you appeared so averse to the voyage. So we know that he did not want to go. He's a child. He did not want to go to France with his dad. She kind of insults him slightly, but that's okay. Uh, Arose from proper deliberation. That means if I thought that you were mentally capable enough of really thinking through and judging properly what was best for you, I wouldn't have made you go. But I don't. I don't trust your judgment because you're a child. I know what's better for you, so here goes. So she's kind of laying down the law here. You, however, readily submitted to my advice, and I hope will never have occasion yourself nor give me reason to lament it. That's kind of a loaded statement. I hope you don't regret going. I hope you enjoy this trip. Also, I hope you don't do anything that makes me regret sending you. So she's throwing in a little motherly guilt there. Okay, there's a little guilt. It's a little backhanded compliment. Your knowledge of the language must give you greater advantages now that you could possibly have reaped whilst ignorant of it. And as you increase in years, you will find your understanding opening and daily improving. So I think she here is trying to comfort him with his own knowledge. The first time you went to France, you didn't speak the language. You had a hard time. You didn't like it. Now you've been working on the language. You should have a better trip. I apologize. I see the screen is flickering a lot. That's just going to happen. Okay, so here she's talking about his fears. She acknowledges his fears. She tries to appease his fears. So this is looking at structurally big chunks of things. What is she doing? She acknowledges his fears. Can't see it. I'm writing acknowledges fear. Down here she starts to appease his fears a little bit. Okay, some author that I have met with compares, let me find it here. Some author that I have met with compares a judicious traveler to a river that increases its stream the further it flows from its source. So the more you travel, the more you're going to pick up. Or to certain springs which running through rich veins of minerals improve their qualities as they pass along. So this is an extended metaphor. Write that down. Extended metaphor. Saying that because you're going to go and you're going to travel to new places and experience different things, you're going to become a better person. All right. It will be expected of you, my son, that as you are favored with superior advantages under the instructive eye of a tender parent, your father, your improvement should bear some proportion to your advantages. You should come back greatly improved because you've been given everything. Nothing is wanting with you. Now, in this old sense of nothing is wanting, it means that you don't need anything. Nothing is missing in your life. But attention, diligence, and steady application. So the only things that you can add to this are the things that you have to provide. Basically, have a good attitude. Nature has not been deficient. So again, you've been given everything. It's up to you now. So here she is setting expectations. This is not a vacation, young man. All right, here we go. These are times in which a genius would wish to live. It is not the still calm of life or the repose of a Pacific station that great characters are formed. Would Cicero have shown so distinguished an orator if he had not been roused, kindled, and inflamed by the tyranny of Catiline, Verres, and Mark Antony? There we are. Okay. So basically saying Cicero is this great Greek orator and speaker who really roused the community. He wouldn't have been able to do that had there not been terrible people giving him the exigence to be great, to stand up, to speak. He felt compelled because of the time, because of the hardships people were suffering. So she's trying to frame it to where, look, it might suck. There might be some rough stuff, but you need to see the silver lining in that. You need to understand that the more adversity you experience, the greater a chance you have to become something great yourself. So she's pulling out historical examples. We call that allusion, right? She's alluding to Cicero, Verres, Mark Antony, to basically provide an example or evidence for that extended metaphor. That, like a river, the further you flow from your source, the more rich minerals you'll pick up, the better you'll become. Look at Cicero. That's what happened to him. Okay, so All history will convince you of this, and that wisdom and penetration are the fruit of experience. We have another metaphor. Rivers and fruit. All right. Not the lessons of retirement and leisure. Okay, so again, it's wisdom and penetration that build experience, not having fun and hanging out. Great necessities call out great virtues. That's just another way of phrasing the metaphor. When a mind is raised and animated by scenes that engage the heart, then those qualities which should otherwise lie dormant wake into life and form the character of the hero and the statesman. Now, at this point, if young John Quincy Adams doesn't realize that his mother is picturing him as Cicero, him as being this great statesman, much like his father, then this kid's just, he didn't have an AP class. We see now she's elevating this. It's not about you. It's not about you just stay out of your father's way and help him out. It's about we're grooming you to be something great. And you need to take advantage of this opportunity and experience. We're starting to see that this whole letter is meant to motivate him, not to learn stuff, not to enjoy himself, not to support his father, but to better himself. And we'll get to the why in just a minute. War, tyranny, desolation are the scourges of the Almighty and ought no doubt to be deprecated. Yet it is your lot, my son, to be an eyewitness of these calamities in your own native land, and at the same time to owe your existence among a people who have made a glorious defense of their invaded liberties, and who, aided by a generous and powerful ally with the blessing of heaven, will transmit this inheritance to ages yet unborn, the future. And again, I'm going to adjust this so you can see. Okay, that's a lot. My mom did not write me letters that sounded quite like this. Yet it is your lot, my son, to be an eyewitness of the calamities in your own native land. This is referring to the American Revolution, right? A people who have made a glorious defense. That's the American Revolution she's alluding to. Aided by a generous and powerful ally, that would be France, with the blessing of heaven. So we have an allusion to Christianity. So just in case he forgets, not only is mom keeping a good eye on him, but Jesus is watching too. Coffee break. Okay, so here we really have her solidifying this notion that there's a lot yet to come. We're a new fledgling nation. We've been shown a path, but we have to stay on it. We have to stick with it. And you are part of that because you're in this family. You have been chosen in a sense. Nor ought it to be one of the least of your incitements toward exerting every power and faculty of your mind that you have a parent who has taken so large and active a share in this contest, and discharged the trust reposed in him with so much satisfaction as to be honored with the important embassy which at present calls him abroad. So this is all about his father's place. This is John Adams is the ambassador to France. That's what we just found out. So this has to do with J. Adams. The strict and inviolable regard you have ever paid to truth gives me pleasing hopes that you will not swerve from her dictates. Whoa, who is her? Her is referring to truth. So we're creating an allegorical figure, which is pretty common. So imagine like Lady Luck or Victory on the battlefield as a big human, almost like a goddess type figure. She's doing the same thing here with truth. But add justice, fortitude, and every manly virtue which can adorn a good citizen. Whoa, these glittering generalities are flying here. All these big, positive, powerful words. Do honor your country and render your parents supremely happy, particularly your ever affectionate mother. You've been given it's like a James Bond mission here. You've been given a dictate, a mission, this mantle of authority and expectation. You need to perform. You need to come back and be ready. You need to learn from this so that we can send you off to help the nation. That's ridiculous, right? Like, who speaks to their child this way? I'll tell you who, the mother of a president. So this kid does become the president of the United States, like his father, who hasn't actually become the president yet. That's, we can definitely see why the College Board went and dug this letter up. It's pretty cool. Once you understand the scale of it, the scope of it, the way she frames things, it gives her a little bit of omniscience and presence and seeing what could be. Her son definitely did become a great statesman. So, what do we do with this? Let me zoom this out. And again, I've got some structural ideas. I have a lot of little style ideas, the metaphor, the allusions, the allegory that she uses down here. How am I going to take this and break it in to the most important things to talk about? How am I going to organize my buckets? What I'm going to do is I do want to start off with something structural, thinking about the whole letter. What does she do in writing this and planning this that makes it so impactful? I picture her son receiving this letter. He's pissed off, he's grumpy, he's on a boat. He doesn't want to be there. Immediately, she sets out to assuage some of those fears. Look, you've done this before. Now you speak French. You're even more prepared. It'll be better. So she does address those immediate, the childish end of his concerns, which is his immediate selfish perspective. How do I explain this? It's not something listed in the 5 canons. That's great. Just explain what it is. Don't get stuck on the lists of vocab and the 5 canon charts. She shifts from addressing John Quincy Adams's, we'll call them his personal aversions and concerns, to family responsibility and concerns. And this is just a draft. I can already see I don't like the way I'm writing this out. To, now we even use transition, like finally, to national responsibility and concerns, all the while I don't want to say highlight. What am I saying? Framing, highlighting. I'm blanking on the word. All the while, I'm just going to say, totally blanking on what I'm trying to say. All the while, for now I'll do highlighting. John Quincy Adams's greater role in the future of the nation. All the while, I don't like it. I'm going to circle it and I'll take something else. Okay, that's me describing what she's doing structurally. Okay, so what would this be? This will turn into a bucket. I can go in and write about how she shifts and keeps bringing in different levels of things. I'll embed some quotes. I'll talk about the effect it has, not on the reader, but on her audience. In this case, it's not the reader, it's her son. So I'll remember to talk about how this is probably affecting him. I need another bucket. What else does she do? Part of what she does in order to bring this about, to make it a more important, lofty elevation of ideas, is she alludes to historical heroes um, through extended metaphor. So I've got some stylistic things here, but it ties in, and I'll definitely make sure it ties in to the structural things. I'm going to pause this so I can just stop that beep. One sec. Okay. So this would be bucket 1. This would be bucket 2. And I'm going to have a good, strong conclusion in this piece